welcome to another episode of the Small Holding Revolution. My name is Alan Okello. This is David and
Scotty H.
All right, so we're getting deeper into this. The last episode, please go check it out if you haven't yet. We established that you can find land, buy land, start a farming business, and the farming business pays for the land, and you end up with a home that bought itself while growing your own produce, eating healthy food with no additional chemicals,
pesticides, herbicides, fungicides,
chemicals,
all of that.
And I wanted to dig a little bit deeper because we kind of skipped over a few steps, because you can't just buy land and just plonk a house on it, can you? How long does that bit take?
Well, our program that we are piloting at the moment, we believe typically from finding the land to actually eventually getting permission should take about 36 months, which not very long. A month goes by like that, doesn't it? So 3 years, 36 months. Potentially it could be done quicker. Particularly, Scotty will probably elaborate a little bit more about how you can speed that process up, expedite that process. But you're not limited to 3 years. It could be done in 5 years. Typically, on our program and our model, you'll need to achieve this within probably the first 5 years, and we'll go on to explain why. It's to do with the permitted development rules, which are a key to actually getting this process underway.
Or you can try and do it on your own, do it all the wrong way, and take 10 years like I
Did
have.
someone do that?
Do you know what? We need to hear about your origin story. Because,
That's probably a good time.
You touched on little bits, but you mentioned something interesting. What is permitted development?
Okay, so permitted development, well, under the UK planning rules, there are a set of, basically it's a rule book. It's a bit like playing football, playing rugby. If you're playing football and the opposite side are playing by the rules of rugby, they can pick the ball up and they can punch you in the... they're going to win, okay? Football, you need to play against someone who's playing the rules of football. And this might sound like a bit waffle, but planning is just a set of rules. A lot of people think it's designed to stop you doing things. It's not. The rules are there to create a framework around which you have to operate. And the arbiter of the rules, i.e. the planning department's job, is to ensure that you are following those rules. Okay. In some cases, you will have planning departments, and Scott has got probably a lot more to say on this than I have. There are planning departments who become subjective about the rule process, and they exceed their remit, really, but that isn't their job, and actually they can be held to account. It is a bit of work if they do this, but you can hold them to account. But in the main, many planning departments are actually good, so don't be put off by the planning process. People will say, oh, it's really difficult. It's a set of rules. It's difficult if you don't read the rules, you don't follow the rules, and you don't understand the rules.
Then you go nowhere.
And you don't know the rules. Then you will either go nowhere or you'll go backwards and spend a lot of money, and you may then employ consultants to help you get through this, and often it's not really always in their best interests.
I did a period of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was painful.
Yeah. So, your question was about permitted development.
Yeah, what
so
is it?
permitted development is part of the rule book which lists the things you can do and the conditions under which you have to do them, or in order to be eligible for creating a development opportunity which is permitted without planning permission. So if you imagine, there's two situations. There's applying for planning permission, and that is where you are the child and the planning department are the parent, and you are asking for permission from them. Okay. And then there's permitted development where you are the parent and you're informing, I won't necessarily say the child, but you're informing an equal that you are going to do this, and the rules allow you to do it.
Okay. Can they say no?
They
can say no.
They check the rules.
Okay.
And they got a time period to say no.
And the time period for planning permission is 12 weeks. Well, it's supposedly 8. It's, in effect, it is supposed to be 3 whole months. 3 months, 3 whole months.
Wow.
Permitted development, 28 days.
That's right.
All right.
So you can submit a permitted development notice, because you're giving the planning department notice of your intention to carry out the permitted development. And they have 28 days to either do nothing, in which case you can go ahead, or to confirm that they're happy for you to go ahead, or the third thing is to reject your notice.
Okay, so I bang them an email.
Yeah.
They turn around and say, it's been rejected. What do I do next?
Right. What you do is you fill in a permitted development form, which is only a couple of pages.
Yeah.
So which effectively shows the plans you're going to do. So let's say you're going to put up a barn, which in our program, that's one of the things you would do.
Okay.
You would design your barn, you would send them the elevations, you'd send them a site plan, and you'd fill in their form, which is a couple of pages. It's not onerous, it's very basic, very simple.
Even I could do it.
Need an architect to do
No.
all of this stuff, so
No.
I can literally
Well,
just hand draw the
yeah.
shape of my land.
Yeah.
So I want to put
Well, you
barn here,
download
barn
a plan.
here.
No.
Okay.
You download the plan of your land.
Okay.
So you have to have the proper plan with a northing and with a basically a sign
Ordnance
that says
survey.
north, south, east, and west.
Okay.
Ordnance
Kind of
survey.
compass type thing,
And then on there you draw your location.
Okay.
So it's the exact location of your,
All right,
your
okay.
barn or whatever. So that's the first thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next question. So and then you do the elevations, north,
Yeah,
south,
yeah.
east, west.
When you said elevation, that's why I thought
Sorry.
it needed an architect. So it's literally
No.
you're just drawing what
Yeah.
the frontage
Yeah, to scale.
of the
Yeah.
building is going to
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah, so we'll put
And a floor plan.
we'll put a template of that on the website. So
Okay.
we'll go from there,
Yeah.
and we'll probably put all of the answers in that template as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So literally, this has been passed
We'll show you once.
a gazillion times
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
Okay, so it's as simple as that. Copy, cut,
Yeah,
paste.
Love it.
Yeah, and
Bing,
what,
bang,
you can
bosh.
do, what you can also do, just on that point, to help anyone listening or watching, is one of the best ways to learn about planning permission is to review talking about planning permission and permitted development, both, either or actually,
Okay.
is to review successful planning permissions, successful permitted development applications doesn't necessarily have to be in your area, it could be anywhere in the country, but look around your area first.
Okay. Where do I find them?
So
Just-
on the plan, it's called the planning portal. So there's a
Okay.
national planning portal and then a local planning. So every
Yeah.
council will have what's called a planning portal, and
Nice.
the addresses are different for the local council. So you type it into Google, it'll bring up the portal. It'll ask you for an address, or it'll give a list of most recent ones, so you can search in your area.
and this is all free.
Yeah, it's free to access, and it shows all the applications, all of the correspondence between the applicant and the council, all of
Okay.
the plans, all of the reasons for refusal if there was a reason, and then the reasons for rebuttal, and if the person went back to argue their case, it shows the reason, the acceptance notice and the timescales. Everything is there, so you can see templates. Hundreds of thousands of templates of people who have been successful.
Okay,
So
nice.
that's one of the
Yeah.
secrets, if you like, secret tips, which is educate yourself by looking at what people have done that's successful. Just on that point, a quick tip I will say is, if you want to be successful, copy the strategies of successful people.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good lesson for life. You don't have to do what they do, you have to
right.
copy their strategies. And the strategies are all on the planning portal, because all the ones that have failed are on there and all the ones that have succeeded
Oh, nice.
are on there.
Okay.
So that's a great way to gain some very early stage knowledge that will help you. So permitted development is something that you can do if you follow a set of rules without asking permission. You're telling them you're going to do it. The great thing is you're in the parent position in that situation.
Okay.
So as long as you follow their rules, you should be fine. If they interpret the rules slightly differently, you can still argue your point. They may try and encourage you to go down the planning route. We would
Say no.
say no. Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, why?
Yeah, because
Explain why.
how expensive is planning permission? Because you need a whole bunch of documents and some money to go with it, right?
Well, one, you don't need to. It's a permitted development thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's £95 for a permitted development application as of August '94. Might be £98, but
All
it's
right.
less than £100.
Two is the cost. The planning application
lot
can,
more.
depending on the size of development that you're looking at, the
Yeah.
red line and the blue line, or what you're actually going to be doing, you might need to be doing other surveys to be able to put in other
Additional
planning permissions.
surveys, like
Ecology, topology, ESG that's coming in as well. So
all right.
you do not need to go down that line.
What are we talking? £1,000, £2,000, £5,000?
It can range. It can literally range depending on
If
what
you
you're
do
doing.
everything yourself,
Yeah.
everything, it could be. I think it's under £400 for the. It might be around £400-ish now. I'm not sure exactly for the physical
For the
application.
application.
But all the
Okay.
supporting reports that they might ask you to do a bat survey.
Okay.
Done 3 of them.
Yeah, they exactly.
Speed survey, 5 of them.
Yeah, they may, and you.
Ching,
for those-
ching, 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 ching.
And those surveys, as soon as they ask you to do those surveys, they won't accept you have to get someone who's qualified. So you may be able to do a survey counting the cars that whiz past your driveway, but if you haven't been to university to get your car counting degree or whatever it is, I've got a degree in car counting, they won't accept it.
Okay.
So they'll say, sorry, so you have to go and get someone with a PhD in car counting, and then someone with a PhD in bat counting, and someone with a PhD in tree counting.
And those bat people have got a license to print money.
Yeah.
They really have. Just as a small aside, we had a bat survey.
Okay.
Low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk. But it was outside of breeding season or something along those lines. Mr. Hodson will have to come back in breeding season and do another survey.
At your expense.
Yeah, there's my checkbook.
Okay.
Low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk. But they're using that little bit of hedge to come out of the woods as a highway to the open countryside. We have to see how many of those bats come. We have to come back again and put traps up and count how many bats use that as a highway. Low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk, low risk. But I went, stop, no, low risk, done. Breeding season outside of breeding season, it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a ruse on there. Okay. Moral of the story, you don't need to go down that planning permission route.
Okay.
I've got an aside for that planning permission as well. Planning permission application. It should be planning permission consultation. You should be in consultation with the council rather than applying for the parent-child relationship, which is a very good analogy, but I won't go into that. Then the last piece is you are handing over that power to subjective people in the council to say yes or no. And that is the biggest thing. They can be qualified, they can be good, they can have integrity, and they can make the right hard decision. But it can also be the other way round.
Okay.
They may have been internally promoted because they were unqualified enforcement officer. They couldn't get any more staff in the council to attract people into the council to actually do their job. So they internally an uneducated enforcement officer into a planning permission role. Okay.
That
uneducated.
Like a car crash.
Exactly. And this is the current landscape of our planning system. You have to ask permission rather than a consultation, and you're asking permission of possibly uneducated, underqualified, weak people, asking them to make a right, strong decision.
Okay.
So don't do planning permission at this point.
Yeah. So with permitted development, I can live on my land still.
No.
Okay.
No. The permitted development will give you the right to apply for, and bear in mind we're talking about smallholding, revolution, on your smallholding, it will give you the right to apply for a barn. But there are a number of conditions, and one of the critical ones is that you have to control 5 hectares of land.
Okay.
Now that might change by the time you're watching or listening to this, but at the moment it's 5 hectares, which is approximately 12.5 acres in the UK. All right?
Okay.
So
minimum amount of land
12.5
I
acres.
should have.
Yeah.
So when you say control,
yes.
do I have to buy that whole amount, or can I buy a little bit and then just have a tenancy of some sort or some other land?
Yeah.
Does it have to be attached?
No, it doesn't. This is one of the things that again catches people out because they don't read the rules. And if you again come back to the football analogy, if you were playing a game of football and you didn't read the rules and you were playing by the rules of rugby, you'd get offside, you'd get disqualified, and you'd be kicked out. Well, it's the same in planning. If you don't know the rules and you play the game, you're going to be kicked out as soon as you make a mistake. It's like playing tennis. You might do the best serve of your life, but if your foot's over the line, I'm sorry, that's a fault. Doesn't
Okay.
matter that it was the best ace serve anyone's ever seen, the fastest serve. You broke the rules. So the same goes with this. So it's about understanding and reading and learning the rules. And this is something that we've, Scott and I have spent quite a bit of time, a lot of time, going through and digesting, and now we're applying that. So the answer to your question is, you don't need to, and when I started this journey, I thought, I've got to own 5 acres. But reading more deeply, I realised that actually you don't. And but what the reason it's significant is 12.5 acres, 5 hectares, is what allows you the right to register as a farmer under the government's on the government DEFRA website.
Yeah.
So
you're not a farmer until you have control over.
You may well be a farmer, but you're not considered by the authorities as a farmer unless you have that minimum amount of land under your control. So you don't need to own it all, but we believe, and this is where it gets a little bit vague. So we believe that, and from all the research we've done, that it's best to have at least 2.5 acres as the core bit that you own. And under your control. In England, things are slightly different. In Scotland, there are different rules on ownership and planning and things like that, and what have you. But in England and Wales, although there's a whole different system in Wales called the One Planet development, which allows for development. We talk about that in another episode. But in England, certainly 2.5 acres as your, if you call it your small holding, and then the balance 10 acres ish has to be under your control under a farm business tenancy. So
because I've been looking for land, and there's loads of bits that I've seen that are like
fun
4, 5, 6, 7 acres,
yeah.
And I don't need to write them off. I can still
don't write them off if there's, because you might find that you can buy 5 acres and then rent down the road, as long as it's not like 3 hours away, as long as it's easily commutable. You know, in a tractor between the two, if you like, or even a pickup or whatever, as long as it's easily commutable between the two, if it adds up to 5 hectares, then you can register the holdings with the RPA, and you will be given what's called an SBI number, and that's a critical piece of, if you like, infrastructure that you need to acquire in the process.
So
you've got the amount of land you need. You've then put in your PD, your permitted development for your agri barn. Okay, so that's what, and you need that to start your small holding for animal feed, for storage of machinery and everything along those lines. Okay. As soon as that PD passes, that permitted development passes that 28 days, and the skilled or unskilled council have said yes, or actually not said no. Which
so
is
can they just be
or
silent?
Not said no.
Or can they
they can be silent. Most of our first one was silent. So as soon as it's gone past that 28 days, boom, I'm on the land.
Because that gives you the right under the rules to live on the land for up to 5 years. Usually the planning permission is also 5 years.
I'm going to hold you on this one, David. All right. You said the word live on the land.
Well, sorry.
So technically it's not living. You're staying on the land.
Correct.
In a Caravan Act compliant building, a caravan. Okay.
So it could be
and
a caravan
go. And we'll go into the clarification of that later on, because there's all some fun stuff in innovations around caravans now.
Because I'm going to struggle to get my wife to live in a caravan. So let's.
How unreasonable of her! Are you sure?
She likes the warmth in winter.
Cuddle her
and the
more.
cool inside. Caravans are not conducive to adult.
Well, in fact, on that point, you're absolutely right. But we have solutions for that, because there are solutions for every problem.
All innovations now.
So we have caravans that have better insulation than residential homes in this country.
For sure.
Higher than the UK building regs spec.
And still is a caravan.
And
it's
still conforms to that. But we'll do that probably in another episode.
So
a whole episode.
we're going to have to.
So you've got your land, whether it's one part or parcels. You've got your SBI number, because of that number, and the CPH number, which is
what's the CPH number?
I can't remember what it actually stands for. We'll find it out and put it in the notes. But it's essentially you've got a small holding. You are classed as a farmer. So I think your SBI is your single business identifier. And your CPH number is you're actually you got a farm.
Your farm number.
So that is registered
That's
with
almost
DEFRA.
like their customer number.
Yeah.
So basically, your SBI number is for that business, which is a farm business. You only get an SBI number with a farm, but then the CPH number is the farm,
That's right.
individual farm.
And those things are really important because it unblocks a lot of funding and stuff later on, which we'll talk about
in another
in another realm. So now you can stay on that land in a Caravan Act compliant piece for 5 years whilst building your farm business.
Okay, so I don't have to like jump in and build it straight away and drop 50 grand on a new barn. I can kind of take a bit of time.
That's right. It's very important. That's a very important piece that you're involved with building that barn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I did all of that. So step 1, 2, 3, whatever, did all of that. I got my permitted development for my barn, and then unfortunately I fell very ill, and I didn't do any work on this barn.
All right.
Okay, I went very ill, very dark, and it got all a little bit wonky.
That affected it negatively?
It affected it very negatively because of when I got back well, got back into the game, a lovely enforcement officer come down the drive with a letter saying that I've changed the use of my farm because I haven't built the barn. So even the fact that I nearly died, wasn't enough reason for the council not to put an enforcement notice on my small holding. As I've said, I've made all of the mistakes. I can rattle them all off. But it's very important.
A rundown of your origin story.
It's very important that you're involved with the building of that barn and you do it.
And
if you do
get it
not,
started at least, you know.
You have to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it in that period.
Please.
Well, you want to do it anyway. If you're serious, about small holding, you will need a barn. I can tell you.
Don't complicate this. Do the work.
Okay.
Build the barn. It's going to take time, but document what you're doing building the barn.
So do I have to physically like raise the timbers and
not yourself?
You can get a subcontractor in and you help them.
So
you have
so
to be
I tell
involved.
them where it's going to be. I tell them the design. I tell them what the doors.
And you will be.
But learn that
when
trade.
When they're on site, I'll be there.
Say, can I help? Can I help with the welding? Because I didn't know how to do the welding. Can I help with that machinery? Because you're gonna have to. Your learning curve is gonna be like that. It's ridiculous. It's off the hook. So just get involved and learn stuff. So just get involved.
It's a great opportunity to pick up skills. I mean, there's no better way to learn something than by doing it, obviously, as human beings. But the fact is, there'll be all these things going on, and even if you're not doing them all day, every day, you'll be with people who are very skilled doing it, and they will be more than happy to have a helping hand for someone who's not like literally holding them up. They'll get you to do the simple stuff. But you will pick up some fantastic skills, which will then be useful when everyone's gone and you need to fix a weld a fence or cut a timber or build a little outbuilding or whatever.
So definitely all of that. Right. So now you've got this timeline. You're safe. You're living on your dream piece of land. You've got your vision held there, and you're working every day towards it. Perfect. You're safe
in your caravan.
Cuddling the lady.
Keeping her warm in the winter and fanning her in the summer because it's really hot, freezing cold, and the mice are in there, the rats are in there.
Well, that's exactly why we've got 2 kids as well. There's a lot of cuddling and a lot of fanning. Right, cool. So then within that, to then go from caravan to home, forever home, forever stability, and your dream, that bridge is difficult. And I'm not going to lie about that. And it's difficult because it's totally reliant on your farm business. Right?
All right.
So if you've never run a business before, if you've never run a farm business before, if you've never grown anything, if you've never looked after anything, if you've never reared anything, it is tough. And that was my perception when when I started. As I've said before, I didn't think it was possible on a small piece of land, we got 24 acres, to make my farm business work.
Okay. Did you think you needed to have 50, 80, 100 acres?
Exactly that. And it's actually designed that way. You know, the rule book that David keeps on saying, you know, the government have said 12 acres, 12 and a half acres, you have to be financially viable. Okay, so, and what does that mean?
What's the parameters of financially viable?
Okay, so
can I just interject?
Yeah,
hold
go for it.
Hold that thought. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because financially viable, if you have very low outgoings, financially viable could be just enough for you to decide.
It's subjective.
So you can live without money if you're trading your time on your land, if you're inviting people onto your land, if you're... There are other ways, there are many other... There's a phrase, won't go into it now, but we should do a session on it called the 8 forms of capital. And there's all sorts of capital besides monetary capital. But they're talking about monetary capital, as in, you know, coinage, if you like, and fiat coinage. And the reason is because part of the 8 forms of capital, one of them is, for example, creative capital or, you know, social capital. Well, they can't tax social capital. You know, my relationship with you and Scotty, how are they going to tax that, right?
I'll charge you for my time.
But the government...
I'm sure someone's trying to work out how to try.
They can't do it. So what they do is they force you into an area that they can take part of, which is, you know, that's the social construct. You live under their ruling, so you have to pay your dues, you know, pay unto Caesar and all that sort of stuff, right? However, that isn't what we would believe is real capital. You know, I put a garlic in the ground, I get 10 next year, I've increased my capital, haven't I? You know, if I went to buy 10 garlic, it's going to cost me 10 times more than it would cost if I was using coins, but that's not considered capital from their point of view. But it is from ours. However, so I just wanted to make that point.
No, you're dead right.
That those things are put in, and there's a rule in the rule book that states how much you... Well, actually, it's fairly vague, isn't it? Sorry, I'll pass back to Scott.
No, it's all right. It's fairly vague. But essentially, there's a threshold. And this threshold is a little bit grey. Okay. But it goes along the lines of enough income to support your family and your existence. Okay. And in the great realms of our sophisticated society, they've sort of like gone around about 17 grand a year. So not a lot of money. But that's obviously...
That's profit, isn't
That's
it?
net profit from your farm business. You have to produce 17k net profit from your farm business.
Scotty, can you confirm as well, is that and that is from agricultural farm business, so it's not from consultancy?
That's right.
Not from training programs, not from an Airbnb or camping on your...
So it's actual agricultural activity?
What about the camping thing?
Right,
Because
so there's a mix here, okay? So that 17 grand used to be 12 grand, so that 12 grand was sort of like whispered around when I started 10 years ago. Now it's at around about 17 grand. Okay? But in our business plan, we've got a mix of things.
So it has to be predominantly agricultural.
It's predominantly agricultural because of that goes on to the other side where you're functionally needed to be on your farm. Okay, so you need to be financially stable, which can be made up of other activities. So we have storage rental, we have office rental. Okay, we do events and a community farm. Some of that income will go into our threshold of trying to get into a sustainable...
But it can't be the predominant, can it?
It can't be predominant, it can't be the only.
You can't set up an Airbnb and then sell a few cabbages, a couple of cabbages at a farm stand. You know, I made £5 selling cabbages.
It's a tomato, I grew that.
It's a great farm.
And then you have like 15 holiday lets giving you your profit. So we've got a mixture of things to get us over the threshold. Okay, on financial stability, on the functional side of things. That's the assessment, functional and financial. Functionally, why do you need to be there? So that is to look after animals,
Okay.
to look after infrastructure, to look after equipment.
Okay. So I'm really big on microgreens. Mm-hmm. So if I set up a microgreen farm, is that functional?
It is. Well, if
Essentially, no.
Oh,
Sorry.
right, really?
Because you could still do microgreens being half an hour down the road.
Okay.
Because this is the next
I
bit
see what
of the
you mean, yeah,
functional
sorry.
piece.
All right.
Okay. You will also
mushrooms,
you'll
'cause-
also assess whether you could rent a home in the area and just pop in once a day to spray your microgreens.
Okay.
You are not needed to be there. It is not critical for you to be there, so you do not pass the functional need.
Yeah.
But
Okay. All right.
but it will add to
the
your
mix,
threshold.
Yeah, if it's
Oh, right.
So,
Okay.
so there's the combination. Not one of our activities
on its own.
on its own tips us over the threshold.
Okay.
We've got a combination of the microgreens, the mushrooms that we're starting with you, the aquaponics starting with you, the garlic that we've planted.
Okay.
the animals.
With the animals, we've got chickens, we've got sheep, we've got goats, we've got pigs that need to be there. The aquaponics equipment, I need to be there because of within a couple of minutes, if the nitrate spike, everything dies.
Yeah.
That is then going over the threshold you're needed. Okay? Not microgreens
All right. By itself.
by itself.
Okay.
But it adds to the aggregate. Yeah, that's
That makes sense.
So,
All right.
let's box clever. You have to be functionally and financially viable and pass those thresholds to get the planning for your forever home.
Okay.
That bridge between caravan and forever home, that piece there. I thought it was never possible until I met that part-time genius over there.
Okay. Interesting.
Where is it?
I never thought it was possible. Come on. Okay, and I was going down another route. And then you guys have shown me it is possible with the incomes that we can do. You know, essentially low effort, high yield activities that pass that functional and financial threshold.
Yeah.
Now, we've put that plan together and we've had that verified by Savills. They've passed that as needing a functional, meeting the functional and financial
And haven't
need.
you actually now had that confirmed just this week?
That's right. So
do you want to explain?
through my current planning application for a temporary agricultural workers dwelling, okay, whereas previously it had been refused because of the perception was I didn't meet those thresholds.
Okay.
The policy team within the planning department are making no comment now. They do not need to comment on if I pass the functional and financial test.
Which is
so
virtually their way of... They can't bring themselves to say, yes, this is fine. They just can't.
it's like a double negative.
Okay.
I won't, I'm not going to be negative, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that bridge of going from caravan to forever home has just become a lot easier because of the business plan that we've put together is essentially a template, a guideline for meeting those functional and financial needs.
Okay.
So deliver this plan
Yeah.
and you get your forever home.
Yeah, you don't have to do that plan. You don't have to do it in Scottish proportions. However, this is a
That's right.
template that if you choose to follow or you use as a guide, and underpinning this, of course, is your intent. If in this process you have genuine intent to run a smallholding, and that is what you're about, then if you do these right things, the rules allow for you to go ahead. If your intent is something different, then we're not here to help those people. That's for them to do whatever.
Okay.
Because this will not work.
Yeah.
You will be caught out because the rules are there to catch out people with the wrong intent.
Yeah.
If your intent is to find your forever home on the land so you can bring up your family, they can live out in the countryside, experience all the things we talked about, you can grow clean food for you and your community, you can bring community, you don't have to bring community into your farm, but most people in a farming community are very well connected to people around them. They live the lives that we evolved to live.
Yeah, it makes
we
sense.
evolved to live, not this life where you're surrounded by people and you don't even know the name of the person who's a few meters away from you in the flat next door, who you've lived next door to for 10 years. That goes out the window generally, unless of course you want to live in solitude, which you can do. But the point is, you have the option of genuine community in the countryside.
I'm greedy. I like both.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I do.
Yeah.
And you can have
privacy
both.
while in a community.
You can have it.
I love the seclusion of my farm. It is medicine to me, and my wife, and my children.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
But then we also like to be community animals. We like to help people. We like to give back.
And that's the unique thing, isn't it? And that's how we evolved to live. Yeah. That's how we evolved. And and for many people, they never have the chance to live that natural life, like we talked about chickens, natural life of a chicken rooting around in woodland on the edge of woodland, as opposed to living on a A4 piece of paper in a cage. Yeah. You know, sorry,
that's all right.
I went off on a crazy tangent.
No, so let's just tie this all together. So to answer the big question, how long does it take?
Yeah.
It's a dud answer, but it depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
there seems to be stages to this. So permitted development allows you to reside on the land.
Yeah. Stay on the land
in a caravan.
In a building that
compliant.
That's it.
Building.
Yeah.
And that's size and height of some sort.
Is it 22 by 7? So by 3.3?
The maximum caravan size is 19.9 metres by 6.9 metres.
Yeah.
Okay.
So around about 130 metres square.
Okay.
Plus 3.3 to the inside of the ceiling. There's no definition for outside, weirdly enough.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So 3.3 metres pitch height.
Yeah.
Ceiling
height, which is higher than most houses. Most houses are 2.4.
Yeah.
And an average UK home is 90 metres squared.
Smaller than what you can have. Yeah.
So
you can have a bigger house, bigger detached house.
A classified caravan can be 40 metres squared more than the average UK house.
Yeah, and 40 metres is just about 450 square feet. So that's the size of a small studio apartment flat, one bedroom flat. That's how much more you can get than the average sized UK house.
Do you know what I think we're going to have to do? We're going to have to go and see one of these properties and actually stand inside it and see it with furniture, because if it's bigger than the average UK house...
Yeah, it can be. You don't have to... It can be just a little little two-wheel caravan.
Because it's the caravan word that throws you off. It makes you think you're living in the little, shepherd's hut type thing.
Yeah.
Well, we started with a static caravan. So our starter home,
Skegness,
our starter home was 1,700 quid. Yeah. How many other people can say that their starter home was 1,700 quid? And it was actually from Ely down the road.
Yeah.
Right, we parked it up. So a static caravan on the farm.
Okay.
Which was 28 days after I got I put in my PD application. We are there now. Okay. Done. Right.
All right.
Then lots of things happened in between there. It was cold in the winter. We had ice in the inside of the windows. It was horrible, and there was nothing on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We then had Harry was on the way. We got pregnant because of it was so cold and nothing was on the TV.
How did the suspension do on that caravan?
It come off the bricks. Right, easy. You're making me blush. Yeah. So then actually we then upgraded and we bought a second-hand park home from an old holiday let park in Stoke.
Okay.
Okay. And I bought this $2,000 cash. I bought a 2-bed bungalow cash.
Okay.
Right? It cost me more to transport it down the road.
I was going to say, how did you get it?
It cost me $3,000 to transport it.
So they do it in two parts.
$5,000 in.
So they come in 2 parts. And we are now in a 2-bed bungalow on a 24-acre plot. Just about to get our agricultural workers dwelling, which is going to be 130 metres squared.
Okay.
So you don't have to go from nothing to everything.
Okay.
You can use little stepping stones. And as David said as well, depending on your position of finance, comfort, stresses and strains, the amount of innovation around temporary mobile housing now is absolutely bonkers, and I look forward to showing more people the innovations around that, because of the, the unit you've bought is absolutely sexy.
Yeah, so I did
have to visit.
Yeah, we will do that, because I did a design for a unit myself, and it was 12 metres by 4, 200 mil of insulation, which building regs is 150.
That's a lot,
yeah, building regs is 150.
Healthy.
Triple glazed, air source heat pump linked to solar panels. Battery backup, electric car charger, the works, full size, shower room with proper toilet, all the rest of it. But I couldn't get anyone to build it to my design. Proper kitchen, everything, lounge area.
Yeah.
Couldn't get anyone to build it for what I felt was a reasonable price, and obviously because it was a one-off, that's my issue, my problem. And then we managed to source a company that actually get them manufactured over in the Baltic area, and of course it's very cold there in the winter.
Yeah.
So the standards of build over there,
Baltic.
yeah, is really good, because it has to stand through their winters.
Yeah.
And so now you're getting companies building to this level, 200 mil, triple glazed, air conditioning. Yeah. The only thing, so I managed to get that for a better price than I could have built it myself. The only thing, there's a few issues with its basic design that I would have done differently, but I can fix those in time. It's to do with extra solar panels. They put them on the wrong orientation for me. There's not a wood burning stove. I definitely want a wood burner in there. Things like that.
You're going to be too hot, mate. You're going to be walking around in your pants. Lucky you got no neighbours. No one wants to see you walking around in your pants.
Do you mean I've got to put pants on? Oh no! I don't want to do that.
You bad man.
Terrible. But So, but the reason for that is we've got a lot of wood, standing dead wood.
Easy.
We can talk about. So
right. So let's tie it together.
Bombshell.
Buy your land, PD agricultural barn. Stay on the land in a caravan. That bridge between the caravan and your forever home to get an agricultural workers dwelling, you're gonna have to do planning permission at that point. Okay, but you've got time. Now the biggest thing, that bridge between caravan and forever home, is your functional and financial need. And we'll put a template up on the website. You'll mention that later on. That functional and financial need needs to produce 17 grand's worth of net profit in a year and meet a threshold of effort and the need to be on site. Okay, and then that will get you over. Now, I want to test with you, that 17 grand net profit doesn't necessarily have to start from when you get your land. I think it can start now. So you should start your farm business now in your normal residential place of work, your residential place of work, your residence now. Okay, so do your microgreens, do your mushrooms, test your aquaponics, but put it in your farm business. So get your farm business started now. Register it at a company's house.
You won't be able to get an SBI number, a CHB number, but you will be able to start your farm business.
That's right. You don't need those,
you don't need those
to pass the functional and financial test. They're independent.
All right.
Okay. Your SBI number and your CPH number will still help later with some funding. Okay. So for any people that want to start their small holding, actually start it from their kitchen table now. Do microgreens, do mushrooms,
learn
do the small
systems.
bases now.
Absolutely, because everything you learn, you can scale up, you see.
And then put it through your books. So by the time you found your land, you've already got you've already got your accounts. Your accounts signed it off. And guess what? You only need 1 year showing 17 grand's worth of profit to then go over the functional and financial need.
Can I just say, are you sure it's not 18 now? I mean, it might be.
I guess. I mean, I'm never going to aim for 17 or 18. I'm definitely going to aim for like 30. And then.
So the business plan that we'll put as a template on the website, that goes in at around about 70. Okay. So you've got a healthy. So your farm's getting paid for. Your dream home is getting paid for by your farm business, that you're then eating well, helping with the community, paying it forward, and all of that sexy stuff. Why don't more people do it?
You're physically healthy, you're involved in a physical activity, you've also got your hands in the soil, which, it's not to be, excuse me, underestimated. The impact of actually physical contact with soil, the microorganisms in the soil can be absorbed through the skin, and that has huge health benefits. The fact that you're touching the ground, I mean, how many people living in cities in apartment blocks ever physically touch the ground and earth themselves, ground themselves? They could go weeks, months, years never doing that, walking on rubber-soled shoes, never ever touching the ground.
Wow.
Which is something we evolved.
I've never thought.
You never thought about it. That's what we did for millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years. We walked in bare feet on the ground. We were always grounded. Listen to the phrase. Oh, that person's really grounded. Have you ever wondered where that phrase comes from?
Wowzers.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
All right, so coming in pragmatically, let's answer the big question. How long is it going to take? So it really depends. So that's the naff answer. But how long is it going to take you as a farmer to get on the land, 28 days, and start your farm business and pass the functional test? To then do your planning application. Your planning application will take 3 months. Okay, it'll probably take 2 months to put together, and then 3 months through the system and the backwards and forwards and the imminent delays and everything along those lines, and the negligence.
6 months rough. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So theoretically, you could do this in a year.
Okay.
But there's a big caveat here. Plans never go.
All the stars have to align.
All the stars would have to align to go into that. And everybody's great with a plan until you get slapped in the face. As soon as you become a farmer, you will have a big smile on your face, but you'll also get slapped in the face every single day. It is hard. It is tough. Your learning curve is very high.
You've got the weather to contend with. This year, you probably remember, we've had the wettest year in history. I planted the most garlic I've ever planted on my new piece of land, scaling up from my sort of meager levels. Right, here we go, we're going for it. We've just had, garlic needs sunlight during the winter period, which is sort of unusual in our climate anyway, but we do all right. This year, it was wet, which means cloud, which means that the garlic says, ooh, I haven't got much sunlight. You know what I'll do? I'll grow a little bit smaller than normal, half the size as normal. So the genetics is fine. All the plants grew brilliantly. So we've still got the same genes, but plants are very clever. There's a thing called epigenetics. And what it is the plant goes, this environment's different. I think I want to survive. I'll adapt to survive. Not much sunlight, limited photosynthesis, limited energy. I'll just grow small this year. So the size of the garlic, it's beautiful, it tastes gorgeous, really good, but it's like literally, if I was selling it in a shop, people go, oh, that's tiny, because people are obsessed with volume, not nutrients. The nutrient content is as good, probably better, because plants produce a thing called phytochemicals. I know I'm going to a distraction, but I might as well run with it. So they will produce these chemicals as a result of the different environments they experience. So plants grown perfectly in a hydroponic greenhouse do not have the same phytonutrients that a plant that is out in the wild getting attacked by insects and being blown about by the wind and the rain, because it has to adapt to that. Plant gets strong if it's blown about in the wind. If there's no wind, it doesn't have to produce any lignin, so you're losing part of the plant that produces roughage that goes into your system. So there's all this sort of stuff going on. So those garlic are probably better than the big fat ones that come in from China that are grown in great big polytunnels under perfect conditions that actually don't have the right nutrients
resistance
in them. But who's going to tell you that? So one small garlic is better than 5 big garlics. But you tell the consumer that, oh, look at these big ones I've got, look at the weight, because they've been conditioned to believe that weight is what it's all about. If it was about weight, then the people up in the old space station people would be sending them tons of potatoes up every week. But they don't. They send them up just the nutrients, right? To survive. It's about the nutrient density. Anyway, I've waffled on. Okay. I was distracted. Cut!
But we pretty much answered the question. Best case scenario, stars aligned, potentially a year.
A year.
Real world,
because
2 to 3.
But get your farm business started now.
All right. I'm going to commit to that. So I'm going to start the mushroom business.
Well done.
And
shake your hand.
I like models that can be replicated by just about anyone. So I want to build a system that can work in a back garden, can work in a spare room, can work on a balcony.
Yes.
So I want to build something, and I think I've got an idea how
me
to
excited.
do it. Because I was in the range the other day, and
Oh, you love the range.
I saw basically it looked like a greenhouse type thing, but it looked like the size of a half-size cupboard.
Yeah.
And that's
right. About 25 quid or something like that.
Yeah. Not very much money.
Yeah. I've seen it
It's
before.
sort of protected from the elements.
Yeah.
I can cover it, especially for mushrooms. I can cover it.
Yeah. Keeps the humidity the right
Keeps the
level.
humidity right. Keeps the temperature almost consistent.
Right.
I think the mushrooms will like that.
Yeah.
Microgreens will probably like that.
Test
as
it.
well.
Yeah, they would.
Test
So
it.
I'm going to test that out.
Start your limited business.
Lion's mane.
I like oyster. I like
Oh, I
oyster
love
and-
oyster.
and pink oyster.
Yeah.
Pink oyster for the summer, blue oyster
yeah.
for the winter.
So get it started. Get it, because then that will reduce the time needed
Yeah.
to get over that financial threshold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then obviously we have to design our business to get over the functional threshold. The need to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you will need some animals,
All right.
I think, or your
I
aquaponics.
like aquaponics.
Yeah. Do what you enjoy as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to tick the
Aquaponics
boxes.
would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think we're going to leave it there. It's been a longer than usual episode, but I think you would have received some value out of it, and we tried our best to answer the questions and give you all the caveats and the context around it all. So we shall see you on the next one, where you can join us on the Smallholding Revolution, where we show you, the average person, how to get your own land, build your own home and farm business, and grow yourself to freedom. See you on the next one.
Viva la revolution!
Viva la revolution.